You are entering a safe space. Please take a moment to center yourself and allow every thought, worry, and care to fall away right now. Focus on taking deep breaths and allow yourself to feel the healing freedom that is waiting to be ignited within you. Welcome to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. This is your healing space, providing you with hope and inspiration as you become more connected to yourself. Your safe vessel, helping you move to a higher consciousness to reignite your voice and discover who you are destined to be really inside you. I am Isabel Draughon, your host. I am also an author, entrepreneur, and a life transformation and spiritual coach. Most importantly, I am a perpetual student of life, just like you. So let's explore together. Claim what is already inside you. Welcome to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. This is your healing space, and I am your host, Isabel Draughon. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for coming onto the podcast and hearing our conversation today, what we have been blessed to speak about and with who. If you have yet to subscribe to the podcast, please do so. And also, please share with your friends. As you guys know, this is your health and wellness podcast. This is your healing space. This is a space where we speak truth, we speak conviction, and this is a space where we have conversations about life. And I hope you're in a space where you'll be able to receive what we're speaking about today. And if you know that this will resonate with someone else, please make sure that you share it with your friends and your family. The whole goal of my podcast is to really help people become their best version and help people come home to themselves and really connect with who they were created to be. We live in a world that wants us to be human doers. I'm on a mission to get people to get back to be human beings, because I believe that we were created to thrive and not just survive. So I hope today it will touch you somehow. Something within you will spark something to help you get to the next level. Or if you're feeling stuck, it will help you just, look at yourself and get some awareness so you can start really moving in that direction. I'm excited today about my guest. It's Tracy Desjardins. Tracy is a national board certified health and wellness coach. She's also a mind-body eating coach, which I've never heard of a mind-body eating coach. So if you've not heard about that, I'm excited just as much as you are. I always say I'm a student of life. So I'm excited to learn from her today. So she's a mind-body eating coach, a fitness professional, and an international best-selling author of the Diet Free Diva. Wow. This is going to be good. So much I want to hear about and learn about. Thank you for joining me, Tracy. Thank you for being in this space. Thank you for taking the time and giving us the time and your expertise to just have a conversation, right? And to help other people and to help all of us become our best version. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you, Isabel. I love that introduction. That was lovely. I'm so happy to be here.
You're very, very welcome. So I'm going to jump right into it. And the first thing that I want to ask, how did you get to where you're at now and why, as far as what you do?
Yeah. So you mentioned I'm a mind-body eating coach, and I'm also a professional. So I'd like to maybe start there.
Okay.
I have spent over 3 decades of my life working in the fitness space as an instructor. I love teaching fun exercise classes where we blast the music loud and jump up and down and sweat and have a good time. And I'm also a personal trainer, and I owned my own private personal training studio for a few years.
Okay.
And right after, well, I'd say during pandemic, I had quite the epiphany that I needed to I felt very called to answer something that was weighing heavily on my heart that I couldn't identify. During the pandemic, I identified what it was, and I
Okay.
to shift my work out of exclusively being in the fitness world because I wanted to play a role in helping solve a larger problem that I saw time and time again in the fitness industry. And that is,
Okay.
I work mainly with women, so I'll speak to women here. There's just this constant chase with dieting and weight loss and using exercise as an outlet to, let's say, force an outcome with body and with weight. And I was playing a role in that. People were
Mm.
coming to me and paying me money to train them and exercise. And there was
Yeah.
it was just off for me. There was something that was very off. And you said something at the beginning of the show here, and I love this. You said, reignite your voice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then come home to ourselves, where we come home to ourselves and we learn to thrive, not survive. So
Yeah.
I love that. I actually wrote that down here as I heard you say that. I'd love to share where I came from.
Okay.
You don't mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know I kind of dove in on like the work that I've done as an adult, but I have a big story as a child that I'd love everyone
Mm.
here.
Yeah. Please feel free. This is a safe space. And just feel free, please. We're having a conversation. There's no judgment zone here. Our stories will help other people come home to themselves. So please feel free.
And Isabel, I discovered that because my story is something that I held deep inside. I was very ashamed of my story. And now I actually, I wrote a book about it
Oh,
that has
okay.
inspired so many other women to share
Mm-hmm.
their stories. And so this is one of the things I loved about your show is stories inspire other people. So
Yeah.
my story began as a little girl. I was born in 1970, and I had a big personality, right out of the womb there. And up until the age of 12, I was a pretty
Mm-hmm.
spirited little girl. I made friends easily. I was always getting in trouble in school. I was the class clown. I was bored in school, and
Yeah.
there was something about me. I was very confident in who I was. I loved breaking the rules to make people laugh, and there was something about me that was a leader. That was, hey, you know what? Let's make something good out of this situation,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was frequently getting sent to the principal's office, and I kind of loved that. It was like, yeah, I made somebody laugh, so it's good. And I was slightly overweight, and I became increasingly overweight by the time I got to like sixth grade. I had a sweet tooth, and I wore like the stretchy pants. I wore what was back then called the pretty plus clothes for girls.
The ones
And
with the stretch.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and funny, Isabel, is they were comfortable. And there was a time when it's like, okay, as long as there was like a roller skate on the top with the laces, or there was like an iron-on of Sean Cassidy or Donnie and Marie, I was fine.
Yeah.
Like,
You were good. You're like, I'm in style. I'm good. Yeah.
and I was comfortable. And I
Yeah.
didn't start to pick up on anything about my body or my wild hair or my authentic, loud personality until
Mm-hmm.
I remember this entering sixth grade. All of a sudden, nothing about me was acceptable anymore. The shift of hormones, and I started to notice what boys liked. And I bought into like culture, what was on TV. I had a
Yeah.
collection of Barbie dolls. All of a sudden, I realized, well, boys like women with blonde hair, long legs. I'm a little short girl, and in this tiny waist. That wasn't me. Like none of that was me. And
Mm.
the part of me that was quite resilient, I was kind of a survivor. I didn't really care what people thought until I did. And I just believed that I had to change myself as soon as possible. The chubby body that I had at the time I was not okay with that. And I was going to
Okay.
fit in come hell or high water. So I started dieting. I started dieting at the age of 12. And I
Mm.
remember like packing my lunch. I'd had like saltine crackers and carrot sticks and canned tuna and hard boiled eggs, skim milk. I remember that was a standard lunch. I started
Wow.
eating like that. Now I didn't
Yeah.
have a problem with food
Mm-hmm.
until I started my first diet. I mean, I, I liked sweets, but I didn't have
Yeah.
a problem. I didn't have a problem is my
Okay.
point.
Okay. I get
So,
what you're saying. It makes sense because I have a sweet tooth too. I love chocolate, but I don't have a problem. But if it's in front of me, I will eat it all. But I don't be like, oh, I'm shaking. Let me go get some chocolate now. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I felt like I had an intuitive sense of connection with my own appetite. It is when I decided to start dieting that I left my old self behind. I did not trust myself with food anymore. And I started to focus on, well, I guess I'm just supposed to be hungry all the time. And I was.
Hold on, Tracy. You just said something. I don't know if people caught it. You said when you started dieting is when you lost yourself.
Yes.
That's powerful. I hope people understand what she's saying. Oh, wow. That hit home to me. So when you started trying to become someone else is when you lost yourself, is what I got from what you just said.
Thank you. Thank you for zeroing in on that. I want to be really clear about something. And I want to suggest anybody listening in that's like, wow, when I go on a diet, like something happens. This is what happens. We leave the wise part of ourselves, our intuition. We kind of put it in the closet and shut the door. Well, that aspect of myself in the like before sixth grade, I was living my best life.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is I liked who I was confident, and I felt like I could savor being present in my life. I was okay with who I was.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
When I began restrictive dieting and I started to experience the misery of what that's all about, feeling left out, and I started to fight with food. I never fought with food before. Now I'm fighting with food. My demeanor changed. So that free-spirited, confident little girl, that I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I left her back in the fourth grade. I left her there.
Jeez.
And then I went running. So I'm going to fast forward my story a little bit. Seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th, 11th, 12th. I developed a binge eating disorder. Now, it wasn't diagnosed back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in my mind, I had a willpower problem because I would heavily restrict, pull up the bootstraps after I ate a cookie and binge. Well, I'm going to go back at it again because we were taught, dust yourself off, stand up,
keep moving.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
With your health. As related to anybody trying to lose weight, it doesn't work like that. We can't fight our way to wellness. We can't fight our way to find sustainable weight loss. We can't. We have to do something different.
We can't fight our way to wellness. I love that. And Tracy talked about way to the body. I think if I can add on to this, all aspects of your life, you can't fight your way through it. All right, go ahead. That was so good.
I love how you dove in there again. One of the very expensive high prices that we pay when we say yes to diets is we say no to ourselves, not just about our ability to trust our eating decisions, but about other things. Because when we fail on the restrictive diet, then we feel a ping that goes against our character. So when we try again, I lost count of how many times I'd lose some weight, binge, gain it back, try to overcompensate with exercise. And it was like a cycle. I call it chutes and ladders in my book. And it robbed me of my self-esteem and all the confidence that I had. And that infiltrated into other areas of my life that I believed I was not good enough to do.
Yeah.
I was no longer good enough because I couldn't do this thing like lose weight. So you can guess what happened. I start dieting. My weight didn't go down. It went up. It did because I developed binge eating disorder. As soon as I ate something off plan, I couldn't handle the inner bully that was ignited. I couldn't handle it. I talk about it in my book. I tell my story in my book. Okay. I couldn't handle that pressure that I couldn't identify. And I was using food to numb and escape from that. So it was a two-edged sword. The restrictive dieting prompted me to rebel like mad. And I also developed a heavy reliance for emotional reasons on food. So I developed an emotional eating problem and binge eating disorder from the restrictive dieting tactics that I took. That took me all through high school. It was really, really difficult. But something magical happened in high school. my dad was like a track star in high school and stuff, and we had a small house growing up, and he had a part of the basement that was his little workout space. And he would blast oldies music, and he would do his calisthenics and stuff. And he invited me down there to do some stuff with him. And I started to notice when I jump around and sweat and the music's loud and we're having a good time, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So at that time, aerobics classes came on the scene. Jane Fonda, leg warmers, the Reeboks. And my dad said,
working out. I don't know how they honestly did it with the leg warmers.
It was blast.
It was right. It was cute too, though. But that's when really started. When you think about the true cardio, it was Jane Fonda and them. They started it.
Well, I'd like to also share, I wasn't very good at sports. It just wasn't my thing.
Okay.
I was trying and I wasn't excelling at that. So, but my dad said, they started this thing down at the health club that he just joined a health club. They started this class. I think you'll like it. Why don't you go? I'll sign you up. I think I was like 14.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So I went in. I was the youngest by far. And this woman was not the little skinny classic aerobics instructor that you think of. She wasn't Jane Fonda. She was strong. She didn't ski either, but she was strong and tough and she could jump, and she created an energy that just, it saved my life, actually. But what she represented saved me, because I was a chunky girl who had no self-esteem, but she encouraged all of us to jump up and down. There was no right way to do it. You just did it, and everybody left happy. And that was my escape hatch. So when I went off to college, I got a job teaching aerobics, became certified back in 1989, 1990. But my restrictive dieting went through the roof. And I learned that I could maybe exercise more to outdo this damage. All of a sudden, I wasn't overweight anymore. In my mind, I thought it worked, but I was miserable. This was back in fat-free nation. Like, I'm eating boxes of Captain Crunch,
Right. Yeah.
It just, I lived like that for a while. Fast forward, I graduate college, meet the man of my dreams, still married to him now. 2 kids, they're now grown and gone. I'm still in fitness. Now I work in it, right? Yeah. Now we've got all these magazines coming out, and, a woman is not going to be respected unless she has a 6-pack, abs, chiseled, and
unless she's a size 0. Let's just keep it real. Unless she's a size 0, this world that we live in, are they kidding me?
Who wears a 0? So I say that respectfully. So the inner shame that developed from the dieting went next level. And I had some friends, I knew some people that were battling bulimia and anorexia. And this is how crazy dieting makes us. I remember thinking, wow, they're really suffering with that, but I admire their tenacity and their discipline. They went away, they got help, they shared stories with me, but I lived in that shame of, well, what about people like me where we're binging? God gave me this special gift. Like, I can't throw up even when I need to. He saved me, because otherwise I would have been full on bulimic. I have a hard time vomiting even to this day, even when I'm sick.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. But so my whole point is, nobody talked about binge eating disorder or emotional eating challenges. And you ate normal. What was normal? I didn't know what normal was. Or you had these diagnosed eating disorders. But for everybody else, we can develop this sense of, well, there's something wrong with me because I'm clearly eating more than other people, especially me, where my binge eating disorder really went through the roof. I'd say from college on to like through my 30s. When I turned 40, my hormones started to shift and I couldn't get away with all that food anymore.
Just listening to your story and the way you articulate it and talk about it, it just keeps giving me all these aha moments. And really, people know that on my podcast, I like to be vulnerable and really just speak my truth. It's the only way for me nowadays. As you're speaking, I was just getting these aha moments of my own challenges with different things. And all I kept on seeing and visualizing myself as you're speaking, I created a life where I was battling with myself. So just like the way you said, right? Like, okay, you're thinking about the diet and then it goes this and this and this. So as you're sharing this, it's a journey for all of us, but it's another thing when you can name it. So just by you sharing your story and talking about, because I'm thinking about you from 14 every year. So if you're going through this every year. That means internally you're fighting with yourself. And all these things are coming up as you're telling your story. I'm visualizing myself, and you've just helped me put a name onto some of my challenges to be able to let those go, because it's an internal battle. Right? You think you're fighting the food, but you're fighting yourself. You
Hands down.
think you're fighting the binge eating or the diet, but it's yourself that you're fighting. And then we start sabotaging. Anyway, go ahead. I just had to share how powerful what you're saying really just resonated with me, even with me being my podcast and me being a coach. That's why I say I'm a student for life, guys, till the day I die. I'm not better than anyone else. This is just a journey. I may be further than most. That's why I'm able to have this conversation. But this is the reason why I have people like Tracy on, because it's not just you guys, it's me too. Like, she just gave me permission without even knowing, by telling her story, for me to name my own personal challenges, to put a name on it. And to be honest with you, now I feel separated from it.
So good. You know what you just said, separated from it.
Yeah.
It took me years to boil down to something that, speaking to the theme of your show here, coming home to ourselves,
Yeah.
I had no idea how difficult I had created this inner war. I had connected with my critic voice. I really had a bully in there that it came about from all of these trying and retrying, doing the same things over and over again with the restrictive dieting, that it created this aspect of me believing that I wasn't good enough at anything. And a lot of people, a lot of my clients, there's this common denominator of this belief system that we develop that dials way back, especially with women that are fighting with food.
Yep.
That we're not good enough.
Yeah. No,
I can't even believe I'm on the show here with you. If you would have told me years ago that I'd be on this show talking with Isabel about my battles with food and body throughout my life, I would have just cringed.
Oh my God, Tracy, I'll just, let me add on to that. Right back at you. I can't believe I'm doing this show. I can't believe sometimes that this is my show, me talking to you. You spoke about shame. My middle name was Isabel. I'm ashamed of who I am, Drawn. So I hid in my shame. So I hear you, sister. I feel you. Even as I'm doing this, it's still a journey. So thank you for saying that. And right back at you. Sometimes I'm like, am I really doing this? Because shame took over my life.
Me too. And I didn't realize it, Isabel. Me too. And that, it was what I identified with, that heavy feeling that I kept trying to escape. I kept trying to stuff it down, numb it away, ignore it, and find other instant, impulsive pings of comfort and soothing, which was always in sweets. For me, it was always, I'm going to go get donuts. I'm going to go get ice cream. I'm going to eat them in private. And I was escaping that feeling that I didn't like about myself. And, I had an epiphany that I'd love to share.
Sure.
With everybody. So I'd given you and the audience kind of a snapshot of my life. Okay. I'm working in fitness. Nobody knew about my problem with food. People could tell I had a problem with gaining and losing. I was like a 15 pounder kind of person. Okay. Either on Weight Watchers or I'm doing paleo, I'm doing whatever. It was always, I could push, but then I would rebel, and then I'd give up on myself for a few months, swim in the shame and the binging. And then I would wait for the motivation to go back at something else again. And I was so ashamed of that, because I felt like I wore that on my forehead. I didn't want to talk about it. And I really believed that nobody else had this problem but me. I really believed that until I started to talk to people. Well, this is where I wanted to take you in my story.
Yeah.
So I wore this mask in the fitness world, like I had it together. People came to me and asked me questions about healthy cooking, healthy living. And little did they know, I'm going through Dunkin' Donuts when nobody's looking, parking under a shade tree and eating my donut holes, thinking I'm nuts. And I know I have a problem with this and I'm going to deal with it someday, but for right now, I just need these donuts. I can't tell you how many experiences I had like that. Like just for now, I just need this.
Yeah.
And like I spent a lot of my life doing that. And then
in a whole lot of things and a whole lot of areas. So I resonate. I hear you. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know how I raised two great kids in all of that. And I was at war with myself, so distracted with starting the next diet and trying to do something that made me feel worthy in the world that it pains me to think of all of the energy that I spent on that. So 2020 hit, right? 2020, which wasn't that long ago. And I was getting older. I turned 50, May 7th, 2020. And so at that point in my life, the hormones are doing crazy things and I wasn't binging anymore, but I was eating very clean and fairly strict. And when I did eat ice cream, I would go overboard. So I had this fear of like, well, desserts, I'm not supposed to eat them. But when I would eat one bite, then I would go overboard.
Yeah.
There was that. And I remember thinking, okay, 2020, I'm going to hit 50. I am going to finally hit this goal weight, which was I was always in the 10-pound club, like 10 pounds, make my life wonderful. So I went out.
It's interesting you say that. It's funny how we do it as women. I do that too. Like, what's really 10 pounds going to?
But we've learned that. We bought into the culture. So
yeah,
of course, I had my strict dietary guidelines that I created. I went back at it again because I didn't know anything different. I'm working really hard. I'm exhausted. We had just moved. And as soon as pandemic hit and we all were at the store fighting over the toilet paper and we had to close our businesses and go home and all that stuff, that aspect of me that has been chasing and running and pushing on the treadmill of life was forced, like everybody else, to stay home and be. And in that silence and in that quiet, I had to face those feelings that I was able to ignore by the distractions of my work, that I fell down really hard, flat on my face, metaphorically. And I started, as soon as pandemic hit, I started eating like 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's for dinner every night. And I couldn't help. I could not stop. And I did this for several weeks until I finally, I've said this before many times on interviews, I had a very strong wake-up call that I'll never forget. I felt like God kind of took me and went like this and said, okay, Tracy.
Can you share or is it too personal?
Oh, no, I want to share.
Okay.
And this, I'll never forget it. He said, I really felt a very strong sense of communication that was like, okay, Tracy, you can either keep doing things your way. Mm-hmm. You know how that's going to go. When you get older, it's going to get even harder. You might even become depressed. I was feeling that. He said, or you can stop trying to control everything on your terms and trust me, and we can go over here. And I said, you know what? I'm in. So I just stopped controlling so much about myself. Yeah. And I had to take my fitness chick ego, like I'm supposed to know all the things, all these certifications, and I had to put that to the curb.
I love you. You're my type of girl because you know why? You're speaking the truth. Like we're out here just getting all these certifications, running away from ourselves.
Yes.
When the truth is we need to look within ourselves. Truly look. We're busy getting all these accolades to add on to our last names. But what are you adding onto the inside of yourself? What are you excavating? What are you healing? What are you looking at? Are you paying attention? Like Tracy said, are you letting go and understanding that you don't have control over your life? The only control you have over it is how you respond to it. Go ahead. I love this.
Oh, you're so right. Chasing to be enough. What's next?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I did, Isabel, when I let go of the control, is I humbled myself to join an online group. I was never in Facebook groups and stuff. It wasn't my jam. And I found a group of other people that had my same diet, binge, restrict, eat the sugar. I found a bunch of people. I found a lot of people in this group. And here's me. You can tell I like to talk, right?
Yeah.
I'm typing and I'm posting every day about what's going on for me. And I'm making friends. People are supporting me. Hey, me too. I do this on Saturday night when I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, when I started dieting, I developed binge eating. I was crying I literally was crying when I discovered that other people, when I shared when I was vulnerable, talked like this about how I've been living my life and fighting with food and myself. Other people were doing it too. in similar ways, I had somebody say, Tracy, you write really well. Do you like have a blog, or did you write a book or anything? Like, no. So part of my healing, I felt called to open up Word documents. Every day I spent time typing. And I started to tell my story. And it was just for me. It was
Yeah.
just me as part of my therapy. And it turned into the Diet-Free Diva. It turned into that because the more I connected in stories, just like what you're doing on your show, the more I felt that taste of confidence that I left in fourth grade with the 10-year-old version of me, and I reconnected with her. We wrote the book. So now, mind you, some years went by. Okay. I had counseling.
Yeah.
I had friends. I had my own coach, and I dove in the name of mind body connection. And there's so much here. I could talk for 8 hours about this. Okay. But I learned how to trust myself. I learned how to say no to the noise, all the sexy noise out there about the restrictive eating plans. And I learned to trust a power higher than myself. And I learned how to make peace with all food, including my favorite sweets. I still don't get on the scale. Never get on the scale.
I don't.
Hate it.
I've never had, though. I've never been that type of a person. I never get on the scale because I know what it would do to me.
Exactly. In fact, I tell my clients, even the ones that like, well, can we just not use it for a while and work on this stuff that's meaningful? I did end up, I must have lost some weight because my clothes started to feel much more comfortable. And I liked that, but I didn't care. For the first time, I didn't care because I felt a sense of connection to myself. And I felt like, I was not put on this earth to diet, binge, and recover. I was meant to do something else. And the word diva in my book, Diet-Free Diva, means help women find a sustainable pathway to find their own trusted solutions for peace and freedom with food and body. Because we're stuck in the war with food and body. We're missing out on the energy to go out and do our purpose. So when I realized all this energy that I had to share with the world, I closed my personal training studio. I said, I'm done with that. I have got to coach. I have to write and I have to coach and I have to help other women because there are millions of them out there that are stuck in the war with dieting. They're binging and they have emotional eating challenges. So that is my baby. And I help women break the toxic cycle of restrictive dieting for weight loss. And I help them find peace and freedom with food where they can go on vacation, they can have holidays, and they understand how to think of themselves as an eater in a sustainable way where there is no starting over on Monday anymore. And that feels good. That feels really good.
I love that. I love that you do that. And I love that for you. And as you're speaking, what came to my spirit when you explained what you do for women and how you help them was freedom. You're giving them the permission to be free. See, I think that what you're doing is so powerful, especially about the body. Like, I think a lot of us don't realize how powerful this body of ours is, right? This is the house that we live in. We don't pay attention to our body, how we're feeling. It tells us our emotions when we're feeling a certain way, you feel it in your body. So what I love about what you just said, your story and what you're doing, not only are you just teaching women by teaching them the diet and how you're teaching them to really know themselves, I feel that you're giving them permission to turn in and honestly know who they are. Then you're getting the diet. Because we're all different. First of all, we're all genetically different. We come from different places. You know what I mean? I come from Tanzania, it's the part of Africa. I don't expect your body and my body. Perfect example. I'm in Chicago. It's always cold. My husband is like, you've been here for how many years? Will you ever get acclimated? And I try to make him understand. I believe in that. My body will never get acclimated to this. I was born somewhere different. So with just like what you were saying, I truly love that. You're giving women the permission to be free. You're giving women the permission to really not only look at their diet as something that they constantly have to be chasing and stay on the hamster wheel to be the certain size. I feel as though you're teaching them to know themselves so that they can align their diets with who they are.
And when we do that, there's never a need to go on another restrictive diet again because we trust our decisions with food.
Yeah.
And, just today, Isabel, I have a Wednesday Zoom group meeting. Just today, we were discussing one of these strategies. I talk about this in my book, to find this peace and freedom with food, because it takes a while. It's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. One of the big tools to find this freedom with food is learning, and you touched on this, is learning how to notice ourselves. I never knew how to do that. A lot of other people have never known how to do that because many of us were never taught how to identify feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
When we don't know how to do that, we don't know how to feel or be in our bodies. And then all of a sudden, we also don't know how to attune or to meet our real needs. So it's real easy to develop addictions. It's really easy to develop unwanted eating concerns, which is something I coach. And part of, I talk about a mind, body, spirit trifecta of healing that must take place to find true peace and freedom with food and body.
I agree.
That involves the thoughts that we're having, the beliefs we have about ourselves, the ability to recognize and validate what we're feeling, what we really need. I spend a lot of time on that. I talk about something called a personal inquiry in my book.
Can you talk about that? Because I do that a lot with my clients, and I see it a lot, even in my videos. I talk to people a lot about what they need. Can you please expand? Maybe it would be nice for people to hear it from someone else, how important it is for us to know our needs.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a great question. How to identify our needs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like a new language. We don't learn this in elementary school. No. We don't learn any. I hope that's different now, but we never learned any skills of self-connection and tapping into intuition or anything like that. In fact, a lot of what we were taught was learn how to disconnect. Dieting is all about staying disconnected to self. It's nothing to do. It coaches us how to disconnect, actually, dieting. So this is a new language. We almost have to be our own parent to ourselves in this adult stage.
Yeah. We do, because we all have to heal that little boy or the little girl inside of us that's poking us to say, hey, because, I'm a believer. I'm a firm believer that even our purpose as who we are as people, even being able to create, the reason why we feel stuck and that blockage is because there's no relationship with that little girl or the little boy. That's who is the creator. That is that's the one who comes up with all the ideas. But what's happened is, at least for me, and I tell my clients, for women, what we've done is we still have her in the driver's seat of our life, but she cannot see over the dashboard. So she's screaming for us to really take her and put her in the passenger side and become the drivers of our life, become the ones who are going to write our story. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how high you will get on the scale of professionalism. I don't care what you're going to own. You will not find peace, joy, even any form of clarity or freedom until when you heal that little boy or the little girl inside of you, because that is the truth of who you are. Who most of us are now is who society has conditioned us to be. And that's why we're constantly chasing. That's why we're constantly on this hamster wheel, trying to hold on to something, find something that we can relate to that is familiar, that will give us peace. It's like you were talking about the diet. And that's why I tell people, you have to come home to yourself. You have to come home and find out who she or he is. Because she's poking that unease that you're feeling. She's like, I'm here, but we are constantly trying to become what society has told us that we need to be. But what we forget is the goalposts moves every second. So we are depressed, we're overeating, we are anxious because it's not real. each day society wants us to show up a different person in a different way. So each time that goalposts move, you have to go back to the book and figure out, well, hell, how is Isabel going to show up today then? So it's a constant grind of seeking an identity that is not there. Your true identity is you tapping into that little boy or the little girl, removing her from the driver's seat, him or her, putting her in the passenger seat and having that connection.
So good.
And that's why I feel when you find yourself in situations, I don't know about you, Tracy, through my healing, sometimes it still happens to me, but I'm becoming more aware. And I teach my clients how important self-awareness is.
Yeah.
But have you found yourself in a situation where you either get into a disagreement or an argument, and the first way you react to whatever is happening to that person. And then as soon as you walk away, you're like, dang,
Yeah.
why did I react like that? Like, I didn't need to be that loud. I didn't need to say what I said. Then you start beating yourself up. So I'm here to tell you on this day, one of the main reasons when you walk away, you start beating yourself about how you reacted or showed up in that situation. It's because that wasn't your adult self showing up. It was the little boy or the little girl inside of you trying to defend themselves or trying to be heard. So what happens is when you walk away, it's the adult person in you that says, man, I could have done that different. But the child within you, all they know is about protection.
Yeah.
And they'll do whatever it takes to protect you. So that's how you lash out that way. And that's why they say the healing of the little girl, the little boy inside of you is so vital. I tell this, I work with women just like you. For women, especially as women, it's so vital because from the day we were born, we have been conditioned to believe that the only way to receive love is through serving. The only way to receive love is through sacrificing yourself. The only way to receive love is to not be seen or be heard, but to continuously just show up and serve. So when you talked about you being young and how you left yourself, oh my God, that hit deep with me. It resonated because that's what happens with little girls. You are taught to abandon yourself to seek out other people's validation for you to feel worthy. But that's not the truth.
Can I add to that?
Please do.
Also, let's throw in there, and I'm going to say men as well can experience this, but
yeah, men too. Yeah,
definitely women.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed to be thinner to be accepted and loved. I wasn't meant to be skinny. So that felt really threatening.
Yeah.
We do not need to be a certain body type that most people cannot mold to in order to believe that we're accepted and loved. That's a real sore spot for me. Like, says who?
Says who?
It's really time to coach ourselves to deconstruct that belief system. And you were saying something about there was a time, Isabel, and I had heard about being compassionate with your inner child. And there was a time when I was at war with food and having to do all the things and working really, really hard that I didn't buy into that kind of stuff. I hear I'm like, yeah, I'd love to give an example to the audience that'll just take a second.
Please do. Please do.
Learning how to, let's say, validate that inner part of us, right? Validate and accept and to reconnect.
Yeah.
It's important that we can talk to the younger part of us with compassion. A few years ago, I was at a family picnic, and I'm sitting next to a young mom with an infant. My husband's cousin's daughter. She also had a 3-year-old. And this little 3-year-old was such a well-behaved little girl all day long, but it was a long day. It was hot. And this other little boy didn't want to play ball with her anymore. She had a meltdown. This little girl just started crying. She was so upset. The mom holding the infant gets up, crouches down next to her and says, honey, I know you're frustrated. That hurts your feelings that he doesn't want to play ball with you anymore. I know you're tired and you're probably hot. How about if we go over here and I'll push you on the swing? I wanted to get down there with her next to the little girl because
I want her to talk to you that way.
I was staring at her. I probably looked like a creep. I'm staring at her like, I need that.
I know.
Talk to me like that. And then I got it. And what you just said, we need to be those agents. And it sounds silly, but it's a real thing. I needed to talk to fourth grade Tracy again. I needed to go and connect with her again. And I talked to 53-year-old, almost 54-year-old Tracy.
Yeah.
And wait, I had a bad day yesterday, Isabel. I was just like overwhelmed by some stuff. And I had the inner bully. I was having a hard time quieting her. It was a really rough day yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was having a hard time until I just recognized there she goes again. She's really having her way with me today. I'm just going to slow things down.
Yeah.
I didn't use food at all yesterday to cope. But this is a day where I've got to put my work down and I'm going to lay on the couch with these two little miniature dachshunds that are in the office with me right now. And I'm going to pick it up again tomorrow. I brought in some self-compassion that I never knew how to do before. This is a lot of the work that I do with women, teaching them self-compassion.
Yeah.
We don't know how to do it, but we can learn.
Yeah, we can learn. And you know what is so fascinating? Gosh, we could talk for 3 hours because this is really good. Like, I'm really asking you in front of everybody, you're coming back, please.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
But just like when you were talking and telling the story about the little girl, I was shrinking here like,
I noticed
someone, talk to me.
It was great. We both were.
But that's powerful. That is extremely powerful. And that's why I tell women, and this is for everyone, but like Tracy and I, we work a lot with women. Our niche, we work with women. And I tell women this, you have to be gentle with yourself because the only person that's going to be with you for the rest of your life is yourself. So learn to treat yourself. See, the thing about us is that we're so good at betraying ourselves. You know, the worst betrayal you can ever experience in life is not from other people betraying you. It's really from you betraying yourself. So it's important to have the compassion. We're good at having compassion and love for everyone, but we don't put ourselves in the picture. And here is the truth. What does your compassion really look like? Because these are questions that I had to ask myself, because you can only love people to the same degree that you love yourself. You can only give people compassion to the same degree that you give yourself compassion. But what society has done, it has trained us to show up unauthentically and you're okay, and give all this compassion and the reason why I'm saying unauthentically, in your heart, you may be really genuine about the compassion, but darlings, you cannot give what you don't have. And that's just a fact. So you have to learn, really give yourself permission to learn how to love on yourself. And what I learned when I stopped being ashamed of myself, when I learned to love myself, the best feeling is watching the people around me love me the way I deserve to be loved. But only you can do that. You can't even point at your husband, your girlfriend, or everybody else. Yeah, they can love you better. But when people see how you're loving on yourself, they don't have a choice if they want to be in your life, but to show up that way. You only teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself.
And that's a ripple effect. My own family said that to me, like, Mom, you just seem happier.
Oh.
So when we take care of ourselves, and it starts with compassion, other people in our life benefit. So before we get caught up in the I'm not worthy to do it, hang on. It's really not just about us. It's about making the world a better place, starting with us, starting with our immediate loved ones.
Yeah. This has been so good. I love it. And you just said something, I hope it didn't slip out of my brain, because right now I'm going like at 1,000 miles because I'm extremely excited. That's what happens when you find, people say like-minded people. I say heart-minded people.
Oh, I love it. I agree. Yeah.
Heart-minded people. And I'm not going to keep you so long, but thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable. obviously we live in a world, and Brene Brown talks about this all the time. For whatever, we've been taught that when we share our story and speak our truth, we're weak. The strength that I received from you today, the knowing for myself, the permission that you've given women out there, for those of you that will listen, really even men, because this podcast is for men and women, but you've given them permission. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, I will encourage you to listen to the podcast again. She dropped so many jewels. She's given us permission to really go back and look into ourselves, to start loving ourselves again, to love ourselves more. And what I loved about this whole podcast today, get to know yourself and use your diet according to who you are, your body. We have to know who we are. It's like, I can't wear a size 4 shoe. I don't fit into that. Know what you fit in, know who you are. So everything that you bring in your life, it will fit into that aspect of who you are, your needs, your values, your desires, your body, even how you look. But get to know yourself, and everything that you bring to yourself, you get to choose what fits in, not the other way around. It never works. We'll keep chasing, keep losing our minds, keep being on the hamster wheel. So thank you again, Tracy. Before I end, I always leave the space open for you to give whatever guidance, whatever you want to share. As far as what you do, I share it with the people. When the podcast comes out, I share and let them know, and I put it on the socials. But again, you can drive people to your website, however you want to do it. The floor is yours. However you want to end this, if you want to give advice, if something comes on you, has just popped on your spirit, you do your thing. I'll sit back and I'll close it out.
Oh, thank you, Isabel. This has just been a lovely conversation. I'd love to chat. There are so many directions that we could have gone today, but this was just great. And I love the fact that we didn't plan any of this. We just
no.
Yeah. So
that's what the higher power does.
Exactly.
When you let go and you let God, the Holy Spirit comes in and the Holy Spirit flows, but you got to let go. Yeah.
And that was my ticket. Otherwise, I'd still be doing the same thing. Remember, I told you what happened to me in 2020, right? So anyway, again, here we go with another topic.
I know. Yeah. You're coming back.
For people that want my book, it is on Amazon, and I recorded it in my own voice. It's on Kindle. It's available in paperback. And if you like to listen to books, it's on Audible. It's also on my website. So if you go to theholisticdivas.com, right there on my website, click here to buy my book. I also, if you scroll down, I'm really proud of this too. I made a workbook for my readers to go through.
Can you say that again? Because I want a lot more women to start celebrating themselves. Could you say that again?
Yes, I'm so proud of the workbook that I created, because I wanted women to not just read the book and throw it on their coffee table, but it's 5 steps to freedom with food, body, and self on your trusted and sustainable terms. Okay. And I give you I show you how to do it. And so it's free. You just have to print it. And that's available on my website again, theholisticdivas.com. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Diet Free Divas, the Diet Free Diva on Instagram. And there's also a way to book a one-on-one chat with me on my website. You'll see that link at the top. And one of the things I love to do is to hear the stories of women that read my book, because that starts the floodgates of their own journey, is having a safe space with someone like me to hear their story. And this has really been lovely being on your show.
Thank you.
I love it. And thank you for the powerful work that you're doing in the world to spark these conversations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for people like you who are willing to come on here really and share their stories and share your expertise. And like I said in the beginning, people, and I'm going to say it over and over again, we're all in this together. I'm a firm believer that every human being on this earth is here for a reason. We all have a purpose. We are the purpose. And life has really taken us a different way. We don't know who we are. So I urge you, we need to stop editing ourselves and really going back to realizing who God created us to be. And the only way to do that is by coming home to yourself. It's truly by, like Tracy's saying, learning to trust yourself. I dare you to trust yourself. Make that decision and trust yourself. The moment you start trusting yourself, like Tracy says, everything changes. So I really, if you're finding yourself in a situation, you're having issues, your body, when it comes to eating, just working out wellness, everything that we talked about, listen, everybody has a free consultation, right? The best thing you can do for yourself, the best thing you can do for yourself, I'm not just telling you guys, I say this to my clients. The moment they contact me and they're beating themselves about what's going on in their lives, I tell them, oh, no, 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 we're celebrating you. Because the moment you say, oh, I need to make a change, I need to do something, that's the first step of your journey. So kudos to you. So today I want to offer you, give you permission, and also dare you to take that step because you deserve it. You really deserve it. And everything that you need, everything that you're seeking, everything that you're chasing, trust me on this, it's inside of you. It's inside of you. So don't go seeking out other people. Don't just, it's inside of you. Get the help. The most powerful thing I ever did for myself, guys, and I'm here today. Tracy and I talked about it. She talked about how she can't believe she's even here. Like she's on this show, how she has the book, right? So the women that we were 10 years ago, we are not these women. So I'm just here to tell you that it's possible. We were drowned with shame. Shame was my middle name. So you don't have to suffer anymore. You're not alone, right? So for all that is worth, thank you so much. Thank you again, Tracy. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope it resonated with you. I hope it lit a fire within you. Please share it, re-listen. But if you're experiencing anything that has to do with your food, your body, your mind, dieting, please, 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 please reach out to Tracy, the author of The Diet Free Diva. You can save yourself. And why not start today? Again, thank you for listening to the Loud Whisper podcast. This is your healing space where shame doesn't play a part on this podcast. We're elevating, we're evolving, and we're growing. Take good care of yourself. Until next time.